Corey Gardner announced yesterday that the BLM is officially headed to the western slope. However, it turns out that fewer jobs are coming with it than previously expected. On Monday, the Washington Post reported 80 jobs would head to the area, but during a conference call Tuesday afternoon, the BLM clarified just how many jobs would be heading to Grand Junction. High-ranking officials, including deputy directors and assistant directors, will be relocated to the valley, but the total number is only 27.
One of the really important elements here that is going to be a byproduct of this is the opportunity for senior BLM employees to help mentor those who are coming up through the ranks.
In addition to the 27 positions in Grand Junction, another 54 will be split between the Colorado State Office and the National Operations Center in Lakewood. Even though the number of jobs coming to Grand Junction will be fewer than expected, the BLM says that work and decision-making will be more efficient than before and will also include the public.
And certainly your decision-making is grounded in fact. You're not waiting for somebody else who is out there to tell you what the picture is. There may be some errors in translation. So from a policy perspective, from a management perspective, and I think from an accountability perspective, I think the American public that is interested in BLM will be very glad that they can then go talk to the individual man or woman decision maker.
Secretary of the Interior David Bernhardt released a statement saying in part, quote, shifting critical leadership positions and supporting staff to western states where an overwhelming majority of federal lands are located is not only a better management system, it's beneficial to the interests of the American public in these communities, cities, counties, and states. Also weighing in on the decision was Senator Michael Bennet, who applauds the move but says he's also concerned by some of the employment plans for Grand Junction, which were released on Tuesday. He says a move like this would be an investment in Grand Junction and should lead to improved decision-making and increased resources for our public lands. The senator added in part, the details released also suggest that more needs to be done to establish a true national headquarters in the West. And the relocation of the BLM headquarters means more government officials and others coming to the area, which raises the question of what that means for our airport.
The Grand Junction Airport was seen as one of the deciding factors for BLM relocation because of a concern over direct flights to the nation's capital.
Although expanding air service into Washington, D.C. for the BLM headquarters was a conversation that we did have, it is not happening.
Even without direct flights between D.C. and Grand Junction, relocation plans still went through.
We're going to be the air service transportation hub for the BLM employees.
Even though only 27 jobs are coming with the headquarters, there's still a sense of enthusiasm.
Moving a federal agency into our community will add a sense of stability to many of our economic drivers, including right here at the Grand Junction Regional Airport.
And if you were envisioning long-term construction for the BLM to station employees around the airport,
they're not going to be necessarily building at this point. They're probably going to be looking to lease office space within the community.
And without a need for construction or new flights.
Within the next 18 months. So we are going to see this, and we're going to see it gear up very quickly.
First on the Western Slope, I'm Ivan Fisher for KREX5 News.
The pastor of a church in Bailey, Colorado says the community is really rallying behind the congregation after a swastika was spray painted on the church. And as Matt Kroschel reports from Park County, the FBI is now getting involved.
And tonight, the Park County Sheriff's Office is offering a $500 reward. They're trying to find out who would target this non-denominational church in this small mountain town.
Evil expresses itself in all kinds of ways.
A newly painted door stands at the back entrance of the Platte Canyon Community Church.
There were guys here ready to cover it up with paint.
Volunteers scrambling to paint over the hate left for them to find.
No idea. Not at all.
Saturday morning.
Is this the evil that blames the Jews for crucifixion of Christ, or is it just the natural evil that we all carry around?
Pastor Larry Kolb says evil is out there, but they're turning to prayer to fight back.
That God would draw them to himself and replace that hatred that they express with his love.
Investigators tell us the people who left these anti-Semitic images on the church also hit a local real estate office.
You just kind of speculate, you know. Was it some kid that was bored and wanted a little excitement, or is there something really sinister going on?
They collected some evidence at both sites. The FBI is assisting on what's being considered a hate crime.
We're not used to this kind of hatred being expressed.
You know, those volunteers had those hateful messages covered up with paint within a couple of hours. They say that type of message doesn't stand here. Reporting in Bailey, I'm Matt Kroschel, covering Colorado First.
The big dig that uncovered dinosaur bones in Highlands Ranch is now officially over. Construction crews uncovered the first fossils back in May, and the Denver Museum of Nature and Science took over excavation efforts from there. More fossils were discovered at the site soon after, then more turned up, and then even more. Scientists believe all of the bones belong to a triceratops dating back 66 million years. Well, after nearly 2 months of excitement and new discoveries at the site, excavation efforts there have finally been completed. The decision to end the dig came after paleontologists and other workers concluded that there were no more bones there to be discovered. The original construction actually continued at the site while the museum team excavated the fossils, and officials say some of the bones will be placed in the museum's prehistoric journey exhibit. We're used to rock slides and blizzards closing Colorado highways, but one in the metro area is closed because it's crumbling. And while drivers scramble to find detours, CDOT is working on a plan to reopen eastbound Highway 36.
The collapse is imminent, but I just don't know when.
Not too often can you watch a highway crumble.
You'll just see a little bit of dirt fall for about 20 seconds, and then it doesn't do anything for a while.
Kevin Falkenstein didn't want to miss the opportunity.
It's not the type of thing you want to have happen, but if it's going to happen, you kind of want to see it.
This is the picture Kevin snapped when he stopped by on his lunch break.
You can see here the major slab. That's actually part of the bike path.
Just about 3 hours later, Kevin came back and took this photo.
The hole's about twice as big as it was at noon.
CDOT engineers say the wall failure and buckled roadway may be due to excessive moisture, not only from the wet winter and spring, but also the lake that was once here and the marsh-like land that remains.
That was taken into account the first time, so that's why we're looking into it in more detail to see if there's something that maybe we overlooked or something that happened that we couldn't have foreseen.
Until CDOT hires a construction contractor to develop a redesign, it could be a long time before the highway is rebuilt.
Well, hopefully do a better job this time.
Kevin says he isn't too nervous about the rebuild, rather the impact this mess is creating now.
I'm only nervous about the traffic.
I'm Kelly Worthman, covering Colorado First.
And that's exactly what motorists should be concerned about, as that busy stretch of Highway 36 is expected to be a traffic nightmare for weeks, if not months to come.
We own 5 and operate about 27.
Carlos Alvarez Aranjo says he went from driving a taxi to running his own transportation company.
And I've had to earn this every step of the way.
After years in business, Alvarez says his company is now at risk with the damage on Highway 36, something he says possibly could have been avoided if CDOT hadn't signed a deal with Plenary Roads, a private company, to manage the highway and collect tolls.
A few years ago, we had a conversation with a top executive at CDOT where we warned them about setting up public-private partnerships for infrastructure, because the moment that we introduce the profit motive into infrastructure, you get into the situation where the companies involved are trying to maximize their profits.
When asked about Plenary Road's involvement in the rebuilding, CDOT chose not to answer at this time.
We're still in the emergency phase of what's going on with US 36 eastbound at Wadsworth. It's too early to go into that right now as far as what their role is.
About 95% of our rides involve US 36 in some way, shape, or form. This could be the thing the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Meanwhile, other people traveling to and from Denver also felt the pain.
I think it doubled my commute time. It was usually 45 minutes, and I think it was about an hour and a half today.
CDOT's goal is to alleviate some of that frustration by bringing eastbound traffic onto the westbound side beginning Wednesday, and get rid of some of the heavy traffic and delays that have been seen to start the week.